On this year's first edition of 101 Sports for the 2022-23 season, we'll be discussing
NFL quarter season reviews.
And Sam Landesman is going to hit us with his locks of the week in college football and the NFL.
And it all starts right now. Welcome back inside this edition of 101 Sports. First off, a brief quiz. Prior to Sunday, how many of all of you in the back have heard of the Adelaide 36ers prior to Sunday? The majority of hands are not up, but regardless, they defeated the Phoenix Suns 134-124 in preseason, and our resident Suns fan, Gray Oss, what do you got to say for yourself?
I am depression. That's what I am. I'm just kidding. Who cares? Honestly, who cares about this loss, honestly? Because you ask the panel. You say, who has heard of the 36ers? What is the Suns' record after that game?
In preseason, they have a loss on their name. But regular season?
It's 0-0. The game did not count whatsoever. If you thought that was the actual Suns that were playing, I think the starters maybe played 20 minutes and shot about 65% from the floor. So again, the Suns, I'm not concerned at all. Actually, I'm going to go out on a limb here. This confirms the Suns to at least the Western Conference Finals because Chris Paul is going to have that team locked and loaded. And Monty Williams, this is exactly what you want to see. This is like the 92 Dream Team losing to those group of college kids, okay? I'm not saying the Suns are the Dream Team here. Not saying that at all. But I'm saying anybody can be beat on any day by anybody, especially with the growth of basketball around the world. So I'm just saying, that this game doesn't count. It doesn't even matter. Again, the Sun starters played maybe 20 minutes. I don't care.
All I'm saying, though, is that the last two games at home for Phoenix, going back to last year, that hasn't been really good so far. Them losing to Dallas, we're down by as many as 2 billion points in the first quarter, and then them losing to a team from the land down under. Jesus Christmas, you guys got to get your stuff together soon.
I'm just saying, like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Again, Luka Doncic completely pants the organization in Game 7. So, yeah, that's bad. But, again, this game doesn't count whatsoever. I think they're still a favorite to go to the Western Conference Finals. The Suns will be just fine.
And speaking of Luka Doncic, the Phoenix Suns are the first team to lose in the preseason to a non-NBA team since Luka Doncic played the Oklahoma City Thunder.
And what
in
year was that in,
2016.
Max? What year was that in?
2016.
What happened to the Thunder in 2016?
They didn't win it.
But they made the Western Conference Finals. That was the team that blew a 3-1 lead, though, to Golden State. The original blowers of the 3-1 lead. And speaking of blowing it, looking at college football right now, again, coaches they're dropping left and right. A Power 5 coach has lost his job the previous 4 weeks, beginning with week 2 and Scott Frost. Max, they're just dropping like flies.
It was Scott Frost first, and Nebraska was so anxious to fire Scott Frost, they voluntarily paid $7.5 million more just to fire him before the start of October. So I'd like to think that they already had Scott Frost being fired in their plans. Georgia State just really accelerated it a whole lot. Herm Edwards came next. Arizona State fired him not long after they lost to Eastern Michigan. There were talks on the field post-game between him and a couple of higher-ups there. So Arizona State also in big trouble. A really funny one, though, is Georgia Tech. They fire their head coach week 4, and the literal next week, they beat ranked Pitt. So I'm starting to think that maybe or maybe not, them firing the head coach could be the spark that gets their season turned around, absolutely. But could they challenge for the ACC title? No,
God,
they won't.
Shut up.
They won't.
No.
They will not.
God, no.
Do not worry.
You had me, and then you lost me.
Do not worry. They are not winning at all. Don't you worry.
Okay, but yeah, you mentioned Scott Frost again. Let's do some backstory about Gray. Okay, he lived in Nebraska for 3 months in the summer of 2021, and he had to deal with the delusional Nebraska Cornhusker fans who keep saying, this is our year. If people want to talk about Texas being back, those people haven't been back in Lincoln since like 1999, and they're still living there, and it's not even a Prince song anymore. And so, again, Nebraska fans, delusional. And they were like, Scott Frost is going to do it. He's going to come in and we're going to be great. You haven't been great since what? Taylor Martinez and Bo Pelini. And speaking of Bo Pelini, never fire a winner. And I'm looking at you, Wisconsin. You fire Paul Chryst with a 67-26 career record. He loses 3 out of 4 last year to start the year. But then you finish 9-4. You win 3, count it, 1, 2, 3, Big Ten West Division titles, okay? He had you in a great spot. You never fire a winner. It's not going to end up well in Badger country, okay? They had a rough start to the season, I get it. But if you fire a proven winner, it's just going to lead to your downfall. And you mentioned Jeff Collins. God bless him. God bless that team. God bless Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt Panthers. How do you let that happen? I mean, I only understand that you have 5,000 fans at Heinz Field or whatever it's called nowadays. But how do you let that happen to Georgia Tech come in and just completely just wipe you off the field? I don't get it.
The one thing they can find solace in is at least they're not Colorado, a historically bad start to their year. For my money, I think Colorado should have scheduled Elon because Elon would have easily trashed them.
Elon's on fire. Elon's on fire. And speaking of on fire, the MLB Playoffs are beginning this upcoming weekend. Again, the slots are all filled out. And I think we have to address the elephant in the one-on-one sports room right now. The New York Mets. Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Come on down and meet the Mets. A 10.5 game lead has been tarnished, and the Atlanta Braves are NL East champions for the 5th consecutive year.
I do not know how they did it, but the New York Mets have somehow become the most made fun of 100 win team, in existence.
Sorry, I'm choking.
This is a house divided here at One-on-One Sports. Many Mets fans, many Braves fans. I'm not going to lie, I jumped on the Mets hype train because I drafted Jacob deGrom late in fantasy baseball. He has been a stud for the last 3 or so months that he's been here. The greatest speculative buy in fantasy baseball history. But the Mets just Metsed.
The Mets Metsed. So who else do you think can Mets in the playoffs? Because I have this hunch, okay? Mainly because I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan, and, I think Brendan Hyde should win Manager of the Year. Biggest turnaround in MLB history, going from 52 wins to 83 wins and counting. I'm just saying. And so a team that the Orioles always had success against were the Houston Astros. I think Houston could be bounced in the DS. Do you agree with me here?
It's really tough to say that they'll be bounced because I remember last year thinking, oh boy, the Chicago White Sox are going to be the team. They're going to upset Houston and go on this miracle run, but disappointment hit them straight in the face. I don't think I'm going to fall for that trick twice. I got Houston going to the World Series, winning the AL pennant yet again. But here's my prediction.
Go for it.
They lose to yet another NL East team, and this time it's the Mets of New York Town. Pete Alonso, home run a game. Mets pitching shuts out everybody. That's how it's going to go. 1-0 victory, 1-0 victory, 1-0 victory, 1-0 victory, over and over and over and over again. And then Pete Alonso at the top of the 9th in Game 6, I'm calling it 6 games. He's going to hit a solo shot that's going to go much farther than Jorge Soler could have ever dreamed of, and the Mets are going to win it all. And the Rays are going to disappoint. I've given up on them already.
I think we all know the answer. It's going to be probably Yankees and Dodgers because no one's stopping LA. LA is going to win the World Series. But we're going to kick it to our first segment. My man Tim, my man Chase, we're talking about some NFL football. We're just about a quarter of the way through the NFL season. 4 weeks down. What is it? 14 to go technically. So we got our man Chase, got our man Tim here to talk some NFL football. Chase, I'm going to start with you. We're going to start on a little bit of a happier note. Who has been your boom team through the first 4 games?
Well, there's a lot of teams around the NFL that have surprised me so far, but none quite like the Jacksonville Jaguars of all teams. Head coach Doug Peterson has turned this team around despite Urban Meyer's best efforts to burn it to the ground. A lot of people had them looked at as a bottom 5 team coming in, and they've completely turned it around because of the play of Trevor Lawrence. 946 yards, 8 touchdowns, a talented backfield with Etienne and Robinson, and Christian Kirk, who everyone thought he was a bit of an overpay, but he's making Kenny Galladay's contract look spectacular.
Oh, there's the Giants reference.
Yeah, Jacksonville Jaguars, who would have thought?
No, I didn't. I can't argue with that. They've been looking great. They've been honestly the most promising looking team in the entire AFC South this year. which just kind of goes to show that conference has completely went down the drain. While I agree with you, my personal choice for the boom team is the Eagles, the only undefeated team in the entire NFL as of right now. Jalen Hurts has been playing his heart out, looking great, and while their schedule has been somewhat easy, you can say that the confidence in beating teams right now can carry on to harder games. Sirianni's really been leading a good group right now. A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, everything's looked great in my opinion. And even though, like I said, easier schedule, personally believe they can take the confidence and keep going and see how far they can take this train.
So you think they can take the NFC East with Jalen Hurts at quarterback?
Who knows at this point?
Yes or no? Can they get it done? Can Jalen Hurts
I think
get
they
it
can.
done?
I think they can.
Okay, defend yourself. What about Jalen Hurts makes him a top-tier quarterback?
I don't know. The way he's been playing so far, just his movement, he has a lot of heart when he's playing. Just seems like so far he's been playing more like a quarterback than a lot of players in the NFC East, like your Carson Wentz.
It's not my Carson Wentz. It's so hard to support that dumpster fire of an organization. Do you think the Eagles are a contender, Chase?
I think they have the schedule. If you look at their schedule, it's probably one of the easiest schedules in the entire league. Their most difficult game will be the Green Bay Packers, and they get that game at home. So I think you might be looking at a team that coming into the playoffs might be 15-2, might be even 16-1. And with that type of schedule, I think they can get the first seed, get a bye. Can they go past that? That's yet to be seen. It's going to take a lot from these weapons and a lot of growth on Jalen Hurts' part. But the additions made in the secondary and that defensive line and the stability of the offensive line, I think they have the makeup of at least getting far in the playoffs.
But Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts has improved. They've given him the weapons. Guys are playing better. You can't argue with the growth that Jalen Hurts has shown so far this season.
Okay, Jalen Hurts. Okay, you just said 16-1. We're going to mark that down. Okay. But also going from the highest of highs now to really the lowest of lows. And Tim, Matt Ryan in Indianapolis, just a shell of themselves.
The Colts thought they made a great move getting rid of Carson Wentz and getting Matt Ryan, and they thought this was the fix that they needed to their problems last year. It was not. They have looked awful. And most of the time when they're playing, a tie week 1 to the Texans wasn't a great start. Then getting blown out by the Jaguars, somehow beating the Chiefs. I don't know how that happened, but no, they have not looked good at all. Taylor is suffering an injury now, and even before the injury, he wasn't looking as electric as he was last year. The problems were they were deeper than Carson Wentz. I think that's the reality that the Colts front office didn't want to acknowledge. And also, there's a lot of teams I would say are worthy of being busts, but this is one of the weakest divisions in football right now. You can make an argument for the Broncos, but at least the Broncos are in a good division with the AFC West. You can give them a bailout there. But the South, the Jaguars are the most promising team right there. And the Colts have been in the playoffs several years for the past few years, and they just have not looked good at all.
I have to agree with the Colts. There's not much of an argument being made that they haven't been a disappointment. They're a team that year in and year out, you believe that they can turn it around. And maybe they still can. They're nicked up with injuries along the line. Shaq Leonard, of course, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor. A lot of their superstars have been bruised up, but we'll see if they can turn it around. As of right now, I would label them as a disappointment as well.
And you said potentially that, the Jaguars might be the most promising team in that division. Are you discounting the Tennessee Titans then?
Titans, I don't know. They are like the most, out of all of them, I feel like it's safe to say Texans are bad. Colts are disappointing. Jaguars are promising. And then Titans are a genuine wild card. When they show up to play, they win. When they don't show up to play, which has been kind of looking more and more prevalent, they don't, or they win out ugly. Their game against Oakland, they barely were able to pull out. Las Vegas, they were barely able to pull out. So I don't know. I see them as a wild card that just when they show up to play, sometimes they play, sometimes they don't.
And also, so again, Matt Ryan in Indianapolis, right? I just want your take on this. If they get the number 1 pick, who should they take?
Oh, you have to go quarterback. Yeah. I am of the opinion that Bryce Young is the best prospect in next year's draft. And I think if you're a franchise that has continuously traded for quarterbacks, has a problem with quarterback since the days of Andrew Luck, which seems farther and farther away with every year, I think you have to go quarterback number 1.
I mean, Andrew Luck, isn't he up for Hall of Fame eligibility? like this year or next year, potentially?
I think it's next year.
Gosh, we're getting old. Okay, also, again, speaking of getting old here, this is my 4th year here. Give me a take that's going to be the most outrageous take that I've heard about the NFL here. Go ahead, Tim. Blow me away.
Bengals missed the playoffs this year, worst hangover in a long time. I have not been convinced of them at all. Last year, I wasn't even that convinced when they made the playoffs, but I really couldn't say that because they actually made it. There were 3 times in that final game where they clutched their spot against the Chiefs where Zach Taylor proved he's a terrible coach and almost blew it 3 different times. Back-to-back-to-back plays. Just take the points. They didn't. Almost every game in the playoffs, they were down, and then they came back and won. And, it's a nice story and everything. But they have not looked impressive at all this year. The only team they looked good against was the Jets. They looked bad against Cooper Rush. They didn't look that great up until Tua got hurt in the Dolphins game. I do not see anything that's been great so far about Cincy. I like Joe Burrow. I like Joe Mixon. Jamar Chase is great. But the coaching has made that team look awful. And the offensive line, they spent a lot of money to upgrade this year. It's a revolving door.
I like it. Revolving door.
As our resident Pittsburgh fan, it's hard to disagree with trashing Cincinnati. I can agree. I saw firsthand that offensive line, despite all the additions that were made, is a continuous revolving door. They made Alex Highsmith look like T.J. Watt after T.J. Watt went down that game. It's just, despite the additions that were made to a team that made the Super Bowl, they have not looked good. They're coming off of 2 back-to-back wins. Against, again, that is questionable wins at that.
Okay, and so now, Chase, your bold prediction, please don't let it be the Steelers and that Kenny Pickett's going to win the MVP or something like that, please, for the love of God.
Even I can't make a prediction that bold, but I will make one.
Let's
look at the numbers here. Let's look at the numbers here, ladies and gentlemen. Who is the number 1 offense in the entire NFL?
I don't know.
Anybody answer that question?
I don't know, but tell the people, man.
The Detroit Lions, of all teams, is the number 1 offense in the NFL. The problem being, they also have the worst defense in the NFL, but I don't care. The Detroit Lions, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right here, right now, will be the 7th seed in the NFC heading into the playoffs.
So again, let's look at some numbers here, Chase. Okay, so God, your prescription's weird. The worst defense in the NFL in a division right now with the Packers and the Vikings, correct? They make the playoffs.
Yes. And let me tell you why.
Has Dan Campbell gotten your ear and motivated you? Did Hard Knocks motivate you that much?
It might have. I feel ready to run through a brick wall for these Lions, unlike I have ever felt. Because the Detroit Lions, if you look at their schedule, it is not difficult. It is difficult, given they are the Detroit Lions. But if they can tweak some things on defense, get some guys back healthy, their young superstars continue to make plays like Aiden Hutchinson, like Jeff Okudah. If they can continue to improve week by week, they are outscoring every single team in the league right now.
Their offense doesn't look bad. They've been looking really great. St. Brown's been great. Swift's been great. I made this point earlier. They're the best 1-3 team in the league right now. The Raiders are also 1-3, and I personally think the Lions, in terms of offensive talent, they've looked better. And while I personally don't think they'll make the playoffs this year, if that offense keeps clicking like it is and they improve that defense just a bit, I think it's not a terrible take to say in the next year or two they genuinely have a chance at the 7th seed.
As I asked him again, speaking of quarterbacks with Jalen Hurts again, just Jared Goff, but I digress.
I got some stats for you.
Oh, no, save it for a different time. We got to talk about more NFL with Sam on the BAM giving us his picks of the week. For longtime fans of one-on-one sports, you guys might remember a segment we had called Coach's Corner, where our good friend Zach Chofie would make his picks of the week. Well, we're bringing it back, but minus the Chofie. I'm going to throw it to my man Sam Landesman for Landsman's Locks of the Week.
Thank you, Gray. We're going to start off. Landsman's Locks of the Week. Let's get ourselves right into it. So first off, if you guys do not know, -7, that just means the team has to win by more than 7 points. O/U means over/under, total points in the game. That's it. So we go to Texas versus Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, baby. Oklahoma lost last week. They are in a Funk. They've lost 41-34 at home versus Kansas State in Week 4, and last week it was bad versus the Horned Frogs. They lost 55-24. For Texas, Bijan Robinson is going to have a field day. He is second in Big 12 in rushing yards. The terrible Sooners defense, they're not going to be able to stop them. Slam the Longhorns -7. Let's continue on. Tennessee, my Vols versus LSU Tigers, baby. -3. Give me the Vols. Let me tell you, they're in the SEC. They are leading yards per game, passing yards per game, and points per game. There's literally no way they don't cover in this. Hendon Hooker has been having a good year and should continue. The Vols also had a bye week last week. There's no way. Come on. All day, baby. Let's go. And if you look at this, if you're telling me they are losing this dripped out, you're a fraud. There is no way. These guys are him. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to the NFL. We got the Titans versus the Commanders, -2.5. Give me the Titans. If anyone in this world believes in Carson Wentz, just get out. Just get out. They are horrendous. I'm so sorry, Gray. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible. I know. Carson Wentz last week, he threw 170 yards and 2 picks. Like, really? What are we doing here? Let's move on. I honestly expect this line to increase, so get it while you can. Next up, we got the Finns versus the Jets. Zach Wilson, I'm sorry, but we got to move it on, buddy. Teddy Bridgewater's a great backup. He's going to be good today. He's going to play well. The Finns were short-staffed last week because they came off Thursday Night Football. They're going to play well. Let's keep it going. Next one up, we got the Niners at the Panthers. Give me the Niners. They are going to slam this game. They have one of the best defenses in Carolina's offense. Come on, man. Who believes in this guy? Anybody? Not me. I'm on taking it. Niners all day. So, to cap it all off, we got 5 glorious teams. We got the Longhorns. We've got the Vols. We've got Mr. Derrick Henry. We've got who? We've got who? The Finns. That's not going to happen again. Don't worry, guys. And last up, we got Jimmy G and the Niners. All day. 5 glorious teams for glory. I'll see you guys at the cash counter. Let me tell you, we're going to become Jeffrey Bezos. Back to you, Gray. You're the man.
We're becoming Jeffrey Bezos. And again, you say sorry for Carson Wentz, dude. The guy's a terrible quarterback. I think we all knew that. We saw that in Indy last year. And also, again, I'm liking the pick of the Miami Dolphins. You, sir, are a smart man.
I'm telling you, baby.
Teddy
Slam
Bridgewater.
it.
Slam it. I'm liking it. Slam this Miami Dolphins. And again, I'm liking, only unranked matchup in the Big 12, Texas and Oklahoma. Have fun in the SEC, guys. We'll be right back here on 101 Sports.
Thank you for tuning in to the season premiere of 101 Sports.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 101 Sports and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Until next time,
Whose side are you on?